Far be it from me to say that a professional fighter like Gabriel Varga doesn't know what he's talking about. He very clearly knows a lot about fighting, but maybe he doesn't know quite so much about karate. Recently, Gabriel put out this video where he said these 5 karate techniques, the back fist, the hook kick, the axe kick, the crescent kick, and the ridge hand, are totally useless and that we shouldn't be training them. I very strongly disagree with that claim. Let me explain why. My goal with this video is not so much to say that Gabriel Varga is wrong, so much as we're saying every technique works in the proper context. Oh, and by the way, I'm not going to cop out and say that these techniques work only in self-defense or only in the streets. These techniques will work in a combat sports scenario. You just have to know how to use them. So, want to learn how to use them? So the first technique that caught Gabriel's ire was the back fist. The back fist, for those that don't know, is a modified version of a jab, where instead of coming straight out and straight forward, it comes around the side and hits with the back of the knuckles. Now, if we're talking about the traditional in the horse stance, bring it across, throw it to the side back fist, then yeah, that's not the most useful strike in the world, particularly if you fight like Gabriel Varga. For those of you that don't know, Gabriel Varga fights in a very tight, high guard style, where from this position, a straightforward punch like this makes a lot more sense than coming around with the back fist. I'll allow that. But if you're more of a low guard kind of person, where the lead hand sits in between you and your opponent, then bringing the hand up to shoot it out doesn't make quite as much sense. But if you have more of a noodle type of movement, then whipping that punch out when a modified back fist is probably going to serve you a little bit better. If we're talking about kickboxing, where you have to worry about someone's head kick coming over the top of your guard, then this might not be the most useful way to stand. And then in that case, coming here and trying to throw a back fist, also not useful. But everything in its proper context. If we're talking about something like MMA, where now I have to worry about someone taking out my legs, then walking at them in a high guard like this exposes my lower body, makes it easier for me to get taken down. Instead, I come in with that hand low like this. Now I can snuff a takedown if I need to and shoot a high jab up at the exact same time. What I'm saying is the game you're playing dictates the most useful tools. Let's talk about the second technique on Gabriel's list, the hook kick. The hook kick is my favorite shot in all of martial arts. For me, it is the perennial karate, taekwondo kick. It's fancy, it's flashy. It's probably not the first kick you should learn. If you know anything about fighting, you know the primary weapons you should use are straight punches, round punches, straight kicks, and of course, round kicks. You master those shots, and you're pretty well taken care of. Except for one little thing. Because these are the standard shots people learn to throw, defense for them is pretty standard. But if you learn something like a hook kick, which looks like a roundhouse kick in the very beginning and then becomes a hook kick at the very end, that's a lot harder to defend from. The hook kick is a deceptive ninja-style strike. It's not supposed to be seen coming, it's just supposed to be felt. Now yes, the most effective version of the hook kick is a heel going across the jaw. Granted, but that's not the only place it has to go. A hook kick sneaking up underneath the ribs hurts like hell. As long as you don't land it on the elbow or on someone's kneecap, you can put this kick pretty much wherever you want, and it'll be very effective. One of the issues I have with what I would call standard striking is that every time the leg comes up, it's going to be a roundhouse kick or a front kick. And the question there is, how high is it going? But if you can make your legs as versatile as you can make your hands, which can be up jabs, forward jabs, body jabs, hooks, whatever, now, instead of it being only one of 2 weapons, you can come around back with a hook kick, you can turn it into a side kick, you can turn it into an axe kick, whatever you want. I have a big belief that the only reason we don't see more fancy kick knockouts is because people who are very good at throwing versatile kicks don't have a lot of full contact exposure. But that's starting to change, and that's why I think the hook kick shouldn't be thrown out. But the axe kick is a little bit different because it's not coming around like any other kick. It is coming straight up from the top and dropping down. The issue that Gabriel has with the axe kick is, where is it going? Which, fair. If you land it on top of someone's skull, 50-50 shot if it's going to do anything to them. But consider this. That's not where the axe kick was meant to go. Because this shot here is not meant to drop the heel onto someone's skull. This heel, with the force of gravity, is meant to come onto someone's neck where it meets the shoulders, onto their clavicle, onto the bridge of their nose, or onto their jaw. You're trying to land to any one of these more sensitive spots because while that might not be a knockout shot, it will be incredibly painful. But here's what I think the axe kick is most useful for. I think the best way to use an axe kick is not to try and knock someone out by cracking their skull open or by dropping their nose into their stomach. I think you use the axe kick to pull someone's guard down. If someone keeps their hands up nice and tight, but not totally pinned to the head, you can use an axe kick to strip the guard down and then open them up for follow-up shots. It doesn't require you to commit full send to the kick. It just requires enough momentum to pull the hand down, and boom, here comes the fury. Now, what I will grant is, for as much as I think the hook kick should be as standard as the roundhouse kick, the axe kick should probably be a very left in reserve kind of shot. The axe kick has such limited usage and requires such good mobility that it's almost not worth learning it in the very beginning. If you think back to all the 80s and 90s action movies, what was every karate star doing? Sitting in splits, putting his leg up above his head. That mobility is one of the most important things, not only for fighting, but also longevity in life. But as we moved on to more standard, fast-acting combat sports, being able to sit in splits isn't as important. But if you have the ability to throw your foot above your head with an axe kick, then what do you think you can do with a roundhouse kick? Point is, while the axe kick might not be the most useful thing to learn in the very beginning, the attributes it gives you are very useful. So I think a back fist is a great modified version of a jab. The hook kick is a great trick shot off of the roundhouse kick. Axe kicks are fine, but in the right context. But a ridge hand, I pretty much agree with Gabriel. I think if you're going to throw a ridge hand, particularly with the thumb tucked in kind of version, you might as well throw an overhand. One thing we don't talk about, the boxing glove is not so much protection as it is turning your hand into a weapon. When I have wraps and gauze and the glove on, yes, my hand is more protected, but it's not so that I don't get hurt. It's so that I'm not afraid to throw with reckless abandon. Meaning, if I'm going to throw a downward shot, I don't need to chop in with the ridge hand and hit with the inside of my thumb like that. I can use the glove to come down with an overhand or come around with a hook. So if we're talking about combat sports, kickboxing, boxing, MMA, where I have something protecting my hand, yeah, the overhand is a lot more useful than the ridge hand, unless we're not in the right range for it. If I'm out here in the long kickboxing range, then yeah, an overhand works great. No reason to go with a ridge hand. But if I'm in closer in the clinch range, where I have to pull away before I can throw an overhand, but I still want to throw it, what if instead I come in tight and hit it here? Now, in this version of the overhand, I'm not trying to hit with the knuckles. I'm trying to hit with the inside of my forearm. This is a much more effective version of the ridge hand, and I believe what it's actually meant to be used for. The goal is not to be here at range and clothesline somebody from far away, although if you watch karate combat, that is what it does. But instead, if you're here in the clinch range, you drive the forearm in to either pull somebody into an elbow, take them to the ground, whatever. So yes, if we're thinking literally ridge hand, using the hand to strike, and I have gloves on, then yeah, overhand is much better. But if we're talking about a clinching context or even a self-defense context, then I would say the ridge hand, where you're striking with the forearm, the ridge forearm, if you would, is a lot more useful than Gabe's giving it credit for. Same tool, different use. Last technique I want to talk about is the crescent kick, talking about both the outside coming in and the inside coming out. For me, the crescent kick is a lot more of a teaching tool than anything else. A lot of times beginners have a very tough time throwing their weight from point A to point B, but they have a much easier time letting the leg swing in a semicircle. So their roundhouse kicks end up looking like crescent kicks anyway. This is not the end goal. The goal is not to have someone's roundhouse kicks looking like this. I understand that looks bad. But if the goal is to get them familiar with keeping their hands up, using the hand as a counterweight, and letting the posting weight turn, then fine, throw a crescent kick. We'll fix that part eventually. But there is proper context for the crescent kick. We have to remember there's two versions of karate. There's sport karate, bouncing around on the balls of your toes, trying to land a back fist and a two, and then getting away as quickly as possible. And then there's the clinch karate. There's the more close-range, self-defense focused karate. And that's where I think the crescent kick really shines. Because when I'm here in this range, when I'm in the toe-to-toe range, again, if I want to throw a roundhouse kick, I have to go from point A to point B before I can accurately throw the kick. But if I'm not worried about chopping my hip up so much, if I instead want to let my leg round off, then I can come from here, boom, there's my crescent kick. Or I come here, boom, there's my crescent kick. Now, I'm trying to hit with the side of the foot here, the ankle bone right there, or even the calf. You'll see guys in Kyokushin do this kind of kick constantly. The thing is, people know if we're this close to each other, the only thing I can really throw is close range rounded shots, elbows, knees. Those are my main weapons, right? Well, think about how messed up your life is. If you're over here fighting someone in the clinch range and all of a sudden, boom, there's a head kick. So if it works in Kyokushin, which is by and large a stand-up striking style, it can work in kickboxing, in Muay Thai, in MMA. It just has to work under the right circumstances. So Gabriel Varga, sorry buddy, you're wrong. If we're talking about putting techniques in the proper context. If we're talking broadly about replacing the fundamentals of kickboxing with these karate techniques, yeah, fine. I wouldn't learn these techniques first. But if you find yourself in a position where you have low hands, then yeah, let's do back fists all day long. If you have very quick feet, then the hook kick will be there for you. But make sure you're learning your jab and your roundhouse kick. So as with everything, the answer is yes, but also no. Mostly sometimes. Anyways, you guys, this has been Rob, the Freestyle Martial Artist. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you really want to help the channel out, there's a Patreon down in the links below. Sign up, support us. You'll get early access to videos. I have a whole bunch more coming out. As always, you guys, I want to thank you for the hard work. Thank you for the hard work yet to be done. And I will see you next time.